It all began with a clink of glasses. Sabrina and Elliot's 10th wedding anniversary was supposed to be a celebration of enduring love. The upscale banquet hall was aglow with golden lights, laughter ringing beneath the soft jazz of the string quartet. Everyone dressed their best. Everyone played their part. But behind the practiced smiles, something darker simmered. I was seated beside Sabrina when I noticed the switch. She'd set a glass down before turning to greet another guest. In her absence, Elliot, her husband and my brother-in-law, reached for the same glass she had clearly set aside for me. And in a decision that would alter all our lives, I let him drink from it. Within minutes, Elliot's demeanor changed. His pupils dilated. He stumbled through his toast, words slurring into confusion. A murmur spread through the crowd as he collapsed to one knee, clutching the edge of the podium before falling completely. Panic erupted. Sabrina rushed to his side with an almost too delayed concern. At the hospital, the tests revealed what I already suspected: Elliot had been drugged. What I hadn't anticipated was the truth that would come next. Hours later, as monitors beeped softly in the background and Elliot stirred awake, I sat beside him. He looked dazed, but present. "I need you to understand something," he whispered. "This isn't the first time Sabrina has done something like this." My breath caught. "Not drugging, exactly," he clarified. "But the control, the manipulation, the jealousy. It's been our entire marriage." I didn't know how to respond. I'd always known Sabrina to be competitive, sharp-tongued, a little too obsessed with perfection. But what Elliot described was more than that. It was emotional abuse. He'd been documenting it: recordings, journal entries, voice memos, on the advice of a therapist, just to confirm he wasn't imagining things. "So why stay?" I asked quietly. His voice broke. "Fear. Not of her, of failing. Of being blamed. Our lives are entangled, our house, our business. And part of me still loved the person I thought I married." He paused. "But tonight changed everything. She crossed a line that can't be uncrossed." Elliot decided not to press charges. It wasn't forgiveness, it was strategy. "A public trial would destroy us both," he said. "But I am leaving her. And I need you to understand what she's capable of." I promised to support him. Back in the waiting room, I found Sabrina alone. My parents had gone to get coffee. "How is he?" she asked. "He's awake. And he's leaving you." The blood drained from her face. "He can't. We built everything together, the business, the home. You should have thought about that before trying to drug me." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to happen this way." "You never do, Sabrina. But you keep doing it. And this time, you hurt the one person who loved you through it all." 1 week later, our father summoned everyone for a mandatory Sunday family dinner. The house we'd grown up in felt unfamiliar now. The scent of Mom's roast chicken couldn't mask the tension. We sat at the old dining table, Dad at the head, Sabrina beside him, eyes downcast. I took my seat opposite her, bracing for impact. Dad spoke first. "I've taught conflict resolution for 30 years. I've written books about it. But never did I think I'd have to mediate between my own daughters over something like this." He turned to Sabrina. "Why?" Her voice was barely audible. "I don't have a good explanation. I've always felt like I had to fight for love, for attention. Nothing ever came easily to me the way it did for Clara." I clenched my jaw, but said nothing. When Elliot started talking to Clara, I panicked. It felt like I was being replaced. Again. I wanted to humiliate her. "Just once. You drugged her," Dad said. "That's not sibling rivalry. That's criminal." "I wasn't thinking clearly," she whispered. "It was supposed to be mild. Just enough to make her say something stupid." "You put a pill in a drink meant for your sister," Mom added softly. "Elliot ended up drinking it. You could have killed him." "I know." Sabrina broke down. "I've started therapy. Every day this week. The diagnosis is borderline personality disorder. Narcissistic traits." A heavy silence followed. "That may explain some things," Dad said, "but it doesn't excuse them." "No," Sabrina agreed. "It doesn't." Then she looked at me. "Clara, I'm sorry. Truly. I've spent my life competing with you. Resenting you. Trying to tear you down instead of lifting myself up. But I want to change." I didn't answer immediately. I'd heard apologies before, but this one came without defensiveness. Without spin. I appreciate your honesty, I said carefully. But I need more than words. You could have seriously hurt me. You did hurt Elliot. And trust doesn't come back just because you say sorry. I understand, she said. That dinner was just the beginning. Our parents admitted their role too, how they'd normalized Sabrina's toxic behavior, chalked it up to sibling dynamics, and ignored warning signs. Therapy became a family mandate. For the first time, we weren't just burying issues, we were unearthing them. Elliot moved out. He filed for separation, citing emotional abuse. Communication with Sabrina became lawyer to lawyer. He told me, for the first time in years, I'm making choices that are mine. 6 months passed before Sabrina and I met again, just the two of us. We chose a quiet cafe. She looked different. No more designer armor. Just jeans, a sweater, and raw humanity. Thank you for coming, she said. I almost didn't. I get that. Family therapy is one thing. This is real. We talked for hours. She told me about her diagnosis, her daily DBT sessions, her journaling, her effort to confront the emotional chaos she used to project outward. I spent my life trying to be better than you, she confessed. And I lost everything that mattered. My marriage, your trust, my self-respect. You're doing the work now, I said. That counts. I may never deserve your forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't about deserving, I replied. It's about peace. For me. Before we left, she told me about a job offer in Seattle. I'm not running away, she said. I'm trying to build something healthier. Somewhere away from the people I've hurt. I think that's a good idea, I admitted. Then, the final moment that marked real growth, would it be okay if I hugged you? She asked. For the first time in years, I said yes. As I drove home, I thought about everything that had changed since that fateful toast. Elliot was rebuilding his life in a downtown apartment. My parents were actively confronting their enabling patterns. Sabrina was finally doing the work, real work. And I had reclaimed my voice. Setting boundaries with family, especially toxic ones, had once felt impossible. Now, it felt like survival. No, more than that. It felt like freedom. That night didn't destroy us. It exposed us. And sometimes, that's the only way healing begins.